We as a society used to get 13 to 22 episode seasons of television for these superhero shows that were able to have multiple character developments, multiple storylines going at the same time, and still conclude in a very satisfying way. Now we're in a world where we're struggling to get an 8-episode season to do that. So yes, hello, this is my review for Peacemaker Season 2. I didn't do any reactions on the channel to Peacemaker Season 2. I was just kind of watching it on my own when I had time, just kind of relaxing away from the computer, away from the camera and everything. And overall, what I gotta say is, I'm extremely disappointed in this season of Peacemaker. Now, I am a big fan of the first season of Peacemaker. I saw it back when it came out like 3 years ago, and it was a genuine surprise and so much fun and a really good season of television. This season, however, is not that at all. It's 8 episodes of some things happening, some interesting things here and there, but overall, it just never comes together to be a satisfying season of television, and I'm very, very upset about that. And I'm basically going to take out my rage about that on this show. This is going to be a very negative review, and that is because I've become very frustrated with us getting shows made like this in this 8 to 6 episode format with 30-minute episodes that just get us nowhere and that are just set up for the future, but they're not focused on the now. They're not focused on finishing this season and giving us something really, really good. They're just focused on building a universe and being like, hey, see you later. I'm going to get into some spoilers. I'm not going to talk about everything because I don't think there's much worse to talk about in this season, but I am going to get into some spoilers. So I guess that's your warning if you haven't seen this season. Actually, let me quickly get the positives out of the way. The positives are the performances. I think all of the performances are pretty good. I think all the actors are giving it their best, even when they're not getting the best scripts or their characters are not getting much to do. I just think the performances are pretty good. This season starts off strong. It starts off with the concept of Chris and his team. They're kind of very down on their luck after the events of the first season. Chris is depressed, hardcore, doesn't want to date him, but he finds out through his magical closet, he finds this other world where his brother is alive, his dad is nice, hardcore loves him, and the world seems nice. He loves it. So he's like, I'm very depressed in this world. Let me go live in that world. It's pretty basic, right? But as soon as he gets to that world, everything seems like way too perfect and nice and things are going way too well for him. What's the catch with this world? Well, the catch is that this is, I guess, World X, it's called. And it's a world where Nazis won World War II and they run America and everybody's racist and there's no people of color in this world. So yeah, it's pretty bad. Oh, and also this season we have Rick Flag Sr., played by Frank Grillo, kind of running around after Peacemaker, because you remember when he killed Rick Flag back in the Suicide Squad, which is actually a really underrated movie, really, really good. Let's actually start with Rick Flag Sr., because I don't understand this character at all. Is he supposed to be an intimidating force? Is he supposed to be a guy that we're supposed to be scared that he's coming after our guy Peacemaker over here? Is he supposed to be smart, a good leader, or is he just an idiot? Because I think he's just an idiot. This whole season, he spends his time building a task force to get Peacemaker. In that task force, he has people that don't trust him at all. They don't like him. They don't want to work for him. And also, he employs Peacemaker's friends to go spy on Peacemaker. So he has John Economos working for him. Peacemaker's, one of Peacemaker's best friends, working for him, spying on Peacemaker and all that. But when John isn't working, you know what he's doing? He's hanging out with Peacemaker and Peacemaker's friends and telling him all of Rick Flag's plans. And when he is at work, he's actually sabotaging Rick Flag so he can't get Peacemaker. But for some reason, John keeps working for him. For some reason, Rick Flag Sr. keeps him around. And he's the biggest idiot on the planet. He's now the head of Argus, right? This government thing. He has all this money and all this surveillance technology. He can put all these people to keep looking after these people, but he never does. And somehow he's always shocked how Peacemaker keeps getting the upper hand on him. He just cannot crack this. He doesn't get it. And he doesn't even do anything himself. He doesn't achieve anything himself. The only thing he achieves is at the end of episode 7 when Peacemaker comes back to our world and he's like, yo, here you go. Here's the portal, dude. I give up. I'm handing myself in. He didn't even catch him. Peacemaker just turned himself in. This is the guy that is supposed to replace Amanda Waller, who's played by Viola Davis, who does an amazing job as this character. Amanda Waller, you're supposed to hate her, and you do hate her. And she's an intimidating presence. And she gets replaced by Rick Flag Sr., who's an absolute idiot. I can tell that this guy is going to be like an overarching character that's going to be showing up in other projects, and I'm not really looking forward to seeing him again. Also, his team Argus, just full of idiots, really. However, one huge shout out does have to go to Tim Meadows, who was hilarious this season. Every single piece of dialogue was very, very funny. He had me dying laughing. I believe it was in episode 2 when his character was introduced. I think that's probably the best episode of this season. That and episode 7, probably. Those are 2 best episodes of the season. But he was very, very funny. But, however, there's a catch. His character is very funny, but it does also display some of the worst qualities of James Gunn's writing. And one of them is extremely long running unfunny bits, or bits that start off funny, but then they keep going and they become unfunny. Like, for example, with Tim Meadows' character, his whole thing in the second episode when he was introduced was bird blindness. We're all like, bird blindness? What is that? That sounds ridiculous. And it's very, very funny, right? But then bird blindness gets brought up again and again and one more time. Thankfully, it doesn't keep going till the end of the season. But again, it's one of those things where the joke just keeps going for a very long time. There's kind of a lot of that. There's some funny moments, but a lot of times there's like long running bits that are very unfunny. One of them off the top of my head is Vigilante. His whole thing this season is that he keeps asking people to quiz him on spiders or bees or owls or something. But guess what? He doesn't know anything about them. Oh, and that bit actually goes on until the end of the season. Speaking of Vigilante, now let's pivot to the side characters. We're not going to talk about Peacemaker yet, Christopher Smith. We're going to talk about his side character, his friends, the 11th Street Kids, they call themselves. They are not real characters this season. They don't have any real development of their own or lives outside of Peacemaker here. Their whole thing is that their lives center around Peacemaker, Christopher Smith. They all just want to hang out with him, and they just chase him around the entire season. They got nothing else going on. Vigilante is extremely underutilized this season. I was very disappointed with the use of this character. We do find out he has a stash house that becomes useful later on, but yeah, that's about it. I wanted to see more character development from him, especially now that we're in the second season, and he was a real standout in the first season. So let's move him as a character, and I think we regress him as a character because he becomes dumber, kind of. And that was honestly a worry of mine. People complain a lot of time about like Deadpool nowadays, but I remember when Deadpool first came out, the first Deadpool movie with Ryan Reynolds, everybody loved it. But then you keep doing the same thing over and over, it becomes dull. So now Vigilante, I was really worried that he was going to run into that, and it kind of happened quicker than I expected. For example, with Vigilante, I think there was a real chance to have some actual development with his character and his relationship with Peacemaker. Like, he's obsessed with him and he's very insecure about their friendship. I think there was maybe a time where they could have sat down and had like a heart-to-heart conversation, which are like strengths of James Gunn's writing. Those heart-to-heart conversations when characters speak like that. But they never give us that. He's just an idiot, an afterthought the whole time. Chris, again, barely even cares about him. I want to also quickly talk about Ads, for example. She doesn't really get much to do besides, again, run after Peacemaker the whole time. There's no conflict between her or Chris or what's going on in her life. For example, in the first episode, it was introduced that her and her wife or girlfriend, they like are going through a tough time. They're separated now. That was introduced in the first episode. And then she kind of mentions it here and there sometimes, but that's an afterthought for the whole season until the 8th and final episode where she goes and visits her and goes like, yeah, man, I mean, I love you, but I just don't think we're a good match. That's it. Ads and her girlfriend, they have this like heart-to-heart conversation, but it felt very unearned. I was honestly shocked that they threw that in my face in the final episode after treating that relationship like that the whole season, that it basically doesn't exist. I think also the biggest weakness of the season is that there's just no conflict whatsoever. Or even if there is conflict, it's resolved almost right away. You know where I think there could have been some conflict? It's when Ads goes to the other dimension and she finds out that the other dimension is like super racist and her life is in danger. She doesn't get mad at Chris for staying in this dimension. She's like, well, you know, Chris is like a dummy. She forgives him almost instantly, where I thought she could have maybe had a dialogue with him and showed some intensity there of like, dude, how the hell didn't you notice that this thing was going on here? Harcourt, who is played by Jennifer Holland, who is James Gunn's wife, gets a lot of screen time in this one. And, you know, she's a good actress. She's really good in this role. But again, just not really anything interesting going on with her. There for Peacemaker to be sad that he can't be with her. And then at a certain point, she just kind of decides that, like, yeah, she wants to be with him. No matter how much this season kept on trying to tell me that they are in love, that Peacemaker and Harcourt are in love, I just didn't buy it. It wasn't working for me. Sometimes, like, the writing and the chemistry between actors, it just hits a spark in the audience to make you care about this relationship. And no matter how much James Gunn tried to show me Jennifer Holland kissing John Cena, and he's like, look, they're in love, I just didn't buy it at all. Weirdly, out of the group, like, Economos gets a lot of screen time, especially early on. He kind of just, like, does a lot of stuff. So, yeah, I don't know if there's really development there, but yeah, he gets a lot of screen time. He does a lot of things. Oh my god, speaking of stupid bits. So every episode of this season, besides the last one, is about like 30, 40 minutes long, right? And we only have 8 episodes. So guess what some of those early episodes waste their time on? The stupid storyline about an eagle hunter trying to catch Eagly, and then we find out that Eagly is like this magical eagle. That storyline doesn't really go anywhere. We just find out that Eagly is a magical eagle, which we already kind of knew, right? Because, you know, he does things that normal eagles don't do. So it's like we waste time on stupid things this season. That storyline with the eagle hunter could have been allocated to more time in this other dimension. Going back to the idea that there is no conflict, or when conflict is introduced, it's almost resolved right away. So they find out that this world is a Nazi world, and they are out of there almost the next episode. Which, yes, it is a good thing. Bad world, right? But what if we spend more time there and get into actual trouble in there, and like we go on an adventure there, like a huge escape right out of there? The escape was kind of like somewhat big, but also somewhat underwhelming. They're just in and out of this world. A 22 episode or even a 13 episode season would have spent more time in that world and like really make our characters go through some shit there to escape that world. But we don't have the luxury here. The action sequences are extremely underwhelming just this whole season. There isn't a single action sequence that like really stands out. None of them are like bad when they do happen, but none of them stand out. Remember that like fight scene at the end of the first season? That's like a really memorable fight scene. But yeah, none of the fight scenes here stand out. Chris doesn't even get to use his helmet, like our Peacemaker. The other Peacemaker that he meets in the other world and kills uses his helmet, I think, once, but he never uses it, never uses his powers. Most of the season, he doesn't even wear his costume. In the final episode, he doesn't even wear his costume. There's no big action sequence to end the final episode. Also, I'm going to say this real quick. I made a few TikToks already about the final and how much I didn't like it. So I'm seeing some comments on there being like, well, a lot of you didn't like the final because you didn't get the big cameo that you wanted. First of all, I don't care about cameos. I've already said this before. Cameos, I've been done with them ever since I saw the 3 Spider-Man on screen. Whenever I saw No Way Home 3 Spider-Man, my cameo load was blown. I'm done with cameos. I get sometimes excited about them, but I'm not seeking them anymore. And honestly, I didn't know James Gunn was promising some big cameo this season. I don't know how he can promise a big cameo this season because this universe is still building up. Like, if you show me Hal Jordan shows up here, why would I get excited about a Hal Jordan that I don't know, besides his name being Hal Jordan? You know what I mean? Lex Luthor is in this, and some of the side characters from the Superman movie are in this, whatever. When episode 7 ended, I remember I was a little worried because I was like, okay, so wait. The whole season was centered around us being in this dimension. And now that we left it with one more episode left, what are we doing? Oh, do we have to deal with Rick Flag Sr. and Argus, who are so stupid and I don't want to deal with them? They're not serious at all. I mean, I guess we could, yeah. Or maybe his brother, who's still alive in the other dimension, will come after him. No, he doesn't come after him. Actually, we didn't ever get a shot of him again. Maybe season 3, but season 3 doesn't look like it's happening. Maybe the show will actually be rebranded to Checkmate, which is the business that they set up. I don't know what that is, guys. I don't read comics. I don't know what Checkmate is. Nor do I know what Salvation is, the prison that they made. But funny enough, this whole season seemed like it was just leading to set up Checkmate and Salvation, which like the nerds will get like super excited about. By the way, I say nerds ironically because look back there, right? And also look at the videos that I make. But if your whole season is just meant to set up the future, that means you failed as a season because you forgot that you're supposed to be in the moment and actually finish a season of television first And the setup should be like just the crumbs right at the end. But the finale was just setting up the future. It was more than just crumbs. Also, it is extremely egregious for James Gunn to give us like 4 or 3 music videos in the finale. The hour of the runtime has just so many musical sequences with okay music. I guess hopefully you like the music. What happened to Peacemaker Season 2 is, I think, what happens when shows or creators know that these characters or the show has a future. Because let's take ourselves back to Peacemaker Season 1 when that came out. James Gunn didn't know if he was going to get a Season 2. He wasn't president, DC was in shambles completely, and there was no green light of Peacemaker Season 2. So they were like, we just have this season to do. And if we get a future, we get a future. So guess what they did in Season 1? They made a full season of television. Season 1 of Peacemaker had him dealing with his racist dad and his daddy issues and saving the world from an alien invasion. An alien invasion that actually turned to be much deeper than it was. Remember when those aliens were like, hey, we want to take over this world because we want a home, first of all, but also because we think we can take care of this world better because the humans have destroyed this planet. That actually got like really surprisingly deep. Season 1 of Peacemaker is much more cohesive, much more satisfactory, much more conclusive, because again, they didn't know if they were going to come back for this. Last year, I was super disappointed with House of Dragon Season 2 because House of Dragon Season 2 did the exact same thing. They enter Season 2 knowing that they can already make Season 3. So they were like, well, we'll use Season 2 as setup and then people wait for Season 3. If you gave Season 2 of Peacemaker both of those storylines that Season 1 had, the racist dad issues and the alien invasion, Season 2 wouldn't know what to do. It would not know how to handle this. Again, I fully understand that this was a very negative review, but I felt like I just needed to get this off my chest because I was very frustrated watching this show, because I'm watching shows nowadays and seeing other shows give us full seasons of television and then coming back to these superhero shows with these whack-ass 8-6 episode formats that just don't know anymore how to make a full season of television. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I was watching this season of Peacemaker adjacent to another HBO show called Task. Task is a limited series, and I've been loving Task. You should watch Task if you haven't watched Task. It's like a police thing. It's really, really great. Check it out. But I'm watching Task, right? And I'm like, Task is a limited series. It only has 7 episodes. Each episode is like an hour long. They know that this is it. They don't have a second season. They only get this much time. And you could tell that there's care put into this, that they are aiming for a goal to finish somewhere. When I was tuning into Peacemaker Season 2, it's like 30-minute episodes of goofiness happening most of the time. I know James Gunn can do better. James Gunn was saying that episodes 6 through 8 of Peacemaker is some of the best stuff that he's ever done. What are we talking about, James? You're the same guy who made Guardians of the Galaxy 1 and 3 and the Suicide Squad movie? Come on, man. I've been getting some comments on my TikToks. It seems like some people did enjoy it. Did you enjoy it? Let me know down in the comments. I would love to have a discussion with you about that. Let me know, are you excited about the future of the DCU? I'm excited about the future. I am. But I'm just very frustrated that this season wasn't focused on the now, that it was just all about the potential future. I just really wanted a solid season of television. And I feel like I didn't get that out of Peacemaker. So yeah, once again, let me know what you thought about this season. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I'd really, really appreciate that. I haven't done one of these reviews or rants in a while. It's good to be back. And I'll see you guys next time.